Hey everybody, Nathan Elson here, and welcome back to another episode of How I Got the Shot. Now this is the style of image that we're going to be creating today. Let's just get into it. So here we are in the studio, and I'm running a 3-light setup. My main light is an AD600 Pro with the ProPhoto Large Deep Umbrella with the diffusion panel attached. This light is metered at f8 at ISO 100. The other two strobes are both AD600 Pro heads with ProPhoto Medium Deep Umbrellas attached, and they are metered to f11 at ISO 100, making them one stop brighter than the main light. This allows for a pure white backdrop without the haloing effect that you will get if you have your background lights powered too high. I find that metering your background lights to be between 1 to 2 stops brighter than your main light is where you want to be to get a true white that doesn't spill light all over the place. Now I'm shooting on a Nikon D800 with the Sigma 85mm f1.4 art lens attached, and I'm tethered into Capture One Pro on a Dell XPS 15 laptop. So as you can see here, my model Daniela is obviously giving me a whole lot of different looks, and I just want to say that as much as your light and photography and everything like that matters, having a model that can move and give you something interesting almost every frame really does make all the difference in creating imagery that does stand out. So I just want to give a shout out to Daniela for being awesome. So now that we know what the setup looks like, let's get into some of the post-production. Okay, so here we are in Capture One Pro. And as you can see here, we've got a few different images that we can select from. Now, of course, like I was saying, Daniela does an amazing job. She gives me tons of options. But what I think I'm gonna do here is I'm probably gonna go with this one for the edit. Now, if you notice here, right up by her cheek, on a few of these different images where the hair is moved away from her face, you get this nice little rim light that's happening. It just acts as a little bit of an accent. And what that's from is I'll actually often take one of my background lights and just angle it just a touch away from the backdrop and towards my subject, just to get that little bit of rim light anytime there is some skin showing, just to offer a little bit of that separation. Now, when you get into images like this where her hair's on the way, obviously that's not going to happen, but you are gonna get little hits of rim light and stuff like that on her wrist, on her arm, just little bits that help to separate your subject from the background. Now, in order to put some polish on this, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this into black and white. Now, what I'm gonna do is just go into the black and white option here, enable black and white. Then what I like to do is I go in and I adjust my contrast. Now, like anything, there's a million ways to do everything. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. There's going to be people out there that do it completely differently. This is what I'm doing. Feel free to follow along. So the first thing I'm gonna do is add in some of my contrast. Now I'm gonna bring that nice and low, bring this up a little bit, not too much that I don't wanna start clipping any of the hair or anything like that. So I'm gonna bring that down just a touch. That looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna add in some clarity. Now with this, I usually use the natural, and then I'm gonna bump this up to probably around 25, that looks, yeah, 24, that looks great in there. Now I'm gonna go back into my color palette and I'm gonna mess around a little bit with the colors here. Now my reds, if I bump those up a little bit, it makes things a little bit brighter in certain areas. If I bring in my yellows, that's gonna adjust on her hair, that kind of thing. So bring that up a little bit. The cyans will be more in the shirt and in the pants. So bring those down, they kind of darken up a little bit. Just add a little bit more pop to the image. That looks pretty great right there. I think I'm gonna add just a touch more contrast here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just come up to my contrast slider and just, yeah, there we go, perfect. Now, if I show you the before and after here, you can see we're still retaining a lot of the detail. Nothing's been lost. There's no major loss in the hair or anything like that. We've managed to keep everything. If you go too hard on the contrast, this hair area and stuff like that is going to start disappearing in your photo. So you want to make sure that you're keeping all of that within certain limits. So lots of before and after there. And one thing that I like to do as well is if we just come up to her eye here. Now, when you convert into black and white, you lose the color in the eye. You can lose a little bit of that detail. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a layer, and I'm just gonna grab my brush, and I'm gonna come in here, shrink that down, and I'm just gonna draw in a little bit of light here. Now I'm gonna bring that up. Now, obviously, that doesn't look very realistic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click on this and I'm gonna feather it. And I'm gonna bring this in, yeah, probably around in that 10 range there. Apply that. And then what you see here is if you bump this up a little bit, it looks like just a little bit of natural light pumping into the eye. Now, if I turn this on and off, you can see it just adds a little bit more detail in there, just makes a little bit more life in the actual eye. You can adjust it to whatever you like. If you want to go crazy, if you want to just have a little subtle hint, I'm more on the subtle side of things. So right in there, I think looks fantastic. And there we go on that. The last thing that we want to make sure of is that we actually have a pure white background. Now, quickest way to do that is if you come over here and you check on your exposure warning, anything that's red is pure white. So as you can see down here, we've got some areas that are not pure white. If you were to print this image or put it against, you know, like a white backdrop on a website, that kind of thing, you're gonna get this little grayed out area. Now, the way to take care of that is, again, just create another layer. And I'm just gonna grab my brush here again, make this a little bit bigger. And I'm just gonna paint this in. And then from there, I'm just gonna grab my exposure and just bring that up until all that goes away. Boom, just like that. And from there, now we have a pure white background without it bleeding into the model, anything like that. Just makes it super nice and clean, and then we're not gonna get any of that graying out if we put this against a white backdrop on a website or if we're printing it, anything like that. So with that, that looks exactly how I want it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this into Photoshop now and just apply all the finishing touches. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. We've got our image here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come full size here. I'm just gonna show you a couple of things. One of the things that I like to get rid of right off the bat is any type of little skin variations, little red marks, things like that. It's part of natural things that happen with light and skin. There's no way of avoiding it, but what I like to do is I like to come in and I use this dodge and burn action. Now, those of you who have seen my videos before know all about this dodge and burn action. For those of you who might be seeing this for the first time, it's completely free. I'll link it down below. You can download it there. But the main things that you want to make sure of are that your paintbrush is selected, that it's set to white, that you've got your flow set to around 5%, and that you're selecting either the dodge and burn depending on what you want to do. Now for this, I want to come in and I want to do some dodging. So I'm just gonna make my brush a little bit smaller here. I'm just gonna come in here and I'm just gonna start dodging away these little skin variances. There we go. And I'm not going to get into doing the whole image and spending the next 15 minutes dodging and burning, but I just really wanna show you guys kind of the power of this and how it works. And I also want to show you guys how I bring out a little bit of the details in the face and that kind of thing, also using this technique. So just to show you this real quick. So if I turn this off and on, you can see just how quickly we got rid of some of those marks. And now, rather than using, you know, a blur filter or something like that, where you're gonna lose all of the details, all the pores in the skin, this is a much cleaner way, a much more professional way of making your images look properly retouched and high end. So the big thing with that is, yes, it does take a little bit more time, but I mean, the end result, if you actually really like the images that you take, the end result is worth it. If you don't find that doing this on your images is a good value of your time, well, then you're probably not creating the images that you want to create. So, like I said, I'm just gonna go through, and I would take out some of these little skin variations that are happening, that kind of a thing. I'm not gonna get too heavy into them. So just to show you on this again with that, so I'd go through, and the first thing I do is a spot dodge and burn, getting rid of any of these little problem areas, that kind of a thing. I would go in and get rid of these even more, but like I said, I don't want to spend an entire video with you guys watching me dodge and burn. So I'm just going to sink that down here. Another thing that I do is I come in here with the heel brush and I just get rid of any of these little random stray hairs that are kind of just bleeding into the image. Nothing too crazy. There we go. Like I said, Daniela has great skin, so I don't really need to do a whole lot to her. But I just want to show you guys quick just a couple of the things that I do with the face and the overall image just to pump out a little bit more of that contrast and give things just a little bit more shape. So I'm going to run this dodge and burn action again. And I'm going to come in here with the dodge. And I'm just going to, again, smooth this out just a little bit. And I'm also going to add in just a little bit more light into the eyes just to make them stand out a touch more here. And again, just smoothing a couple of these little areas. There we go. Perfect. Again, this doesn't take a long time. As you do it more and more, you become a lot more fluid with it and you know exactly what you're looking for and how to get rid of it. So with that, if I just turn this off and on, you can see I just got rid of a couple of areas, smooth things out a touch. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run it one more time. I'm gonna come in with my burn and I'm just going to add just a little bit of darkening in a couple of places. Gonna come around the lips, give those a little bit more shape, a little bit more shadow on this side of the nose. Come in just onto the chin a little bit, into the cheek, right up in here into the forehead. Then I'm gonna bring my dodge and I'm gonna come in a little bit broader strokes. And I'm just gonna add in some lightening aspects here just to make them pop a little. Come down here, highlight onto the lips and the teeth. And again, just onto the bridge of the nose, onto this cheek a little bit. And it doesn't look like I'm doing a ton until you see the before and after. And that's one of these things where, as you do this, you know, when you're first starting out, you're gonna wanna click on your before and afters a lot just to make sure that, you know, you're keeping the shape of things. But as you get used to doing this more and more, it just becomes a lot quicker. So if I take that now, and I turn this off before and after, you can see that it's actually added a lot of shape into her face here. So before, after, and it's just fine-tuned things just a little bit there. And again, I would come in here with my burn and just highlight a few of the areas just again to give a little bit more shape, following the natural contours of her body. Come in with the dodge. And again, we just want to highlight what's already there. We're not trying to create something that is artificial. We're just helping the light to create some interest. And again, if I turn this off and on, you can see we just added a little bit of definition into her stomach area, which was already there, but we're just making it pop in the black and white. And there you go. That sums up the post-production part of this image. And so with that, that is episode 6 of how I got the shot officially in the books. Now, I hope you guys gleaned a few different things from that video that you can use for your upcoming projects. If there's other things that you guys would like to see, use the comments box down below. That's what it's there for. And with that, if you guys did like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed already, please do. I'd very, very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Cheers.